Millions of people's lives have been ruined since the pandemic, and when we get media reports like the one you're about to see, it just infuriates me and everyone else more than we already are. Take a look at this.
Jobs market is defying expectations. And this morning's report tells us that employers are keeping up their intensely fast pace of hiring. It shows that 303,000 jobs were added to the workforce in March. That is way above what analysts had expected. The unemployment rate at 3.8% ticked down a little bit, and it's near a 50-year low. And that means that most people right now who are looking for a job are able to quickly find one. When you take a look at which industries are hiring the most workers, look at healthcare, adding an average of about 60,000 jobs every month for the past year. We have also seen big job gains in restaurants and in construction. The other important number to look at in this report is how much Americans are earning in their paychecks. On average, wages are up 4.1% in the past year. That's actually going up at a faster pace than inflation at 3.2%. In other words, workers' higher salaries are helping to absorb at least some of those frustratingly high prices for everyday expenses like groceries, gas, or housing.
So there are two things in that report that are ridiculously misleading. Number one, those 300,000 jobs are either low income or part-time jobs. And number two, when they talk about how wages now are outpacing inflation, that again is very misleading because again, they're only talking about the current situation. They do not talk about how inflation was absolutely massive in the last few years and wages never caught up to inflation. We are being lied to every day by the media from these bogus reports. I'm going to show you how, especially when it comes to buying a home in the upcoming segments. What's going on, my YouTube friends? This is Jerry Abbott, your #1 real estate resource here in beautiful Las Vegas. Hey guys, a couple of real quick things before we dive into the video. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn the cold hard facts about the U.S. economy, the U.S. real estate market, and specifically the Las Vegas real estate market, then definitely subscribe to the channel down below. Number two, if you happen to like the content in today's video, make sure to press that thumbs up like button, guys. That would really help the channel out. And number three, if you are thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, whether it's next month or next year, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When that time is right for you, definitely reach out to me. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. Let's dive into the video. So I definitely feel like we're living in two different worlds right now, Fantasyland and the real world. The government and the media are living in Fantasyland, telling us how great the economy is doing, but in the real world, millions of people are struggling every day just to get by, as you can see by these headlines right next to me, where people are raiding their own retirement accounts just to survive inflation, and now we have record high credit card debt, especially in the younger generation, because people simply are not making enough compared to inflation. Now, when we drill down more specifically into the real estate market and its total lack of affordability, I want to show you a shocking truth in this upcoming segment. Take a look at this. All right, so I want you guys to first take a look at this chart. Take a look at the top left where it says buying a home in 1985 versus 2022. Now, this chart right here indicates what the average median household income was 37 years ago and the average home price back then compared to where it is now. So let's take a look down here in the bottom left. You can see right where I'm moving the arrow, it says baby boomers. So the light blue bar right there says $23,620. That was the average median household income in 1985. If you take a look at the dark blue bar right here, the average home price was $83,000. So when we look at the average home price back in 1985 at $83,000 and the average median household income at $23,000, the ratio is about 3.5 times greater of the home price compared to the median household income. Now take a look on the right side of this chart. Right there where I'm moving the arrow, it says millennials. So this is the new generation. If we take a look at the light blue bar here, you see that the average median household income is about $74,000. Then we take a look at the dark blue bar and look how much higher home prices are now compared to the median household income. Right now, median home price is $468,000. Now, when we look at this kind of a ratio, we see that average home prices are about 7 times greater than median household income. This just goes to show you how unaffordable it is right now for the current generation to own a home. When we look back nearly 40 years ago, and the median home price back then was only about 3.5 times greater than the median household income, that was considered normal. Now it's 7 times greater. And the last time the average home price was 7 times greater than median household income is when we had the massive real estate crash back in 2006. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to have the same type of real estate crash that we had nearly 20 years ago. In fact, I don't see a real estate crash coming because this economy is much different than it was nearly 20 years ago. But I do see a correction coming because, again, if history is any kind of indicator, when the last time we had this kind of disparity between median household income and median home prices, it was a disaster for the overall economy and the real estate market. All right, so this article that recently came out was really pretty stunning. I wanted to show you guys a couple of very specific sections here, starting with the headline. Half of American households are struggling to cover rising housing costs. But more importantly, I want to scroll down right here to this blue highlighted sentence. I'm going to read it to you. It says, however, for a substantial portion, the sacrifices run deeper. About 22% have resorted to skipping meals, while 20.7% have taken on extra work hours. Additionally, a significant 20.6% have sold personal belongings to make ends meet. So now I want you guys to just think about this for a second. When we see the media report that the economy has added 300,000 new jobs or that wages are finally outpacing inflation, that is absolute nonsense for millions of people, because when you see the kind of sacrifices people are making, like I just showed you in this article, and then when we scroll up to the top here and we see that half of American households are struggling with rising housing costs, that's not a small portion of people. That's 50% of the people who are basically saying they're struggling to afford a home. You see, guys, this is the sad reality for millions of people. When the media reports that 300,000 new jobs were added to the economy or that wages were barely outpacing inflation, means absolutely nothing to the average person. This is the reality for most people, where nearly 50% of all households are struggling like crazy just to afford the average home. It is unfortunate and it's very infuriating, not only to me, but I'm sure to you guys, when we see the government and the media constantly tell us how great the economy is, yet millions of people are struggling constantly every day within this economy. All right, so if you guys follow my channel, you know that I usually go to the popular real estate website Zillow near the end of each of my videos just to show you a few examples of homes for sale in the Las Vegas area where I happen to be located, to show you some pricing discrepancies as to whether or not the Zillow algorithm is estimating the home values right, whether or not the sellers are being very greedy and they're overpricing their homes, or there's already been some price reductions on the homes in the examples that I'm about to show you. In this particular section, I want to show you, starting in the luxury category, some big price reductions that are already happening, starting with this one right here. All right, so let's take a look at this first Las Vegas home for sale. You can see on the lower left side of the screen that this home is currently listed at $1,080,000, but just above it in that small red text, it says price cut $120,000 on 4/1. So only about 2 weeks ago, this home was originally listed for $1.2 million, and now they've already done a reduction on it of $120,000. This is a 2-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,200 square foot home. This is a guard-gated community with modern single-family homes. But more importantly, I want to show you the full price history down in the chart below. Let's take a look at that right now. So I remember focusing in on this particular home a few weeks ago in one of my previous videos because I wanted to show you guys the absurd price history of this particular home. If we take a look at that blue highlight down on the bottom left, that date on the bottom left says 6/1/2020. So that was more or less the start of the pandemic. This home sold, you can see over here on the right side of the highlight, for $641,000. But if we go just above it on 3/19/2024, which is really just about a month ago, this home was listed for $1.2 million. That's almost a 100% price increase in just a few years, which in the history of real estate, home prices have never appreciated to those kinds of levels. And now the seller is getting a reality check, realizing that they're not going to get $1.2 million, because when we look at it right here, we can see the date right at the top, 4/1/2024. So again, that's a couple of weeks ago. They just did a big price reduction of $120,000, and now it's at its current list price of $1,080,000. So again, guys, there's a reason why I'm showing you examples like this, because I don't just find a few of them. I find dozens of them every single week of massive overpricing, especially here in the Las Vegas area, because the seller greed is absolutely astonishing. A home that was $600,000 a few years ago is no way in hell $1.2 million 4 years later. And now the sellers know that because they're already reducing it $120,000, and it's likely going to go lower. I'm just trying to make you guys aware that when sellers list their homes, that does not mean it's the true value. You need to get comps run by a real estate agent and eventually get an appraisal done to find true value. All right, so let's take a look at this second example of a home for sale here in the Las Vegas area. Now we're coming down a little bit lower in price. You can see the current list price on the left side of the screen is at $749,000, but just above it in that small red text, it says price cut of $51,000 right at the end of March. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,300 square foot home. But again, I want to show you down below in the price history where this home started at the original list price compared to where it's at right now. Let's take a look at that. All right, so let's look at the price history of this particular home starting down here in that blue highlight. The date down there in the bottom left says 3/8/2024. So that's just a little bit over a month ago. If we take a look over on the right side of the blue highlight, this home was originally listed for sale for $825,000. And then just a few days later, they did a big price reduction of $25,000 and they dropped it down to $800,000. There was still no buyer. And then 2 weeks later, they reduced it again right at the end of March, down now to the current list price at $749,000. So there's a couple of things to unpack here. Number one, this looks like a motivated seller because they came in at a very high price point and they've done some very significant price reductions. In just the last 3 weeks alone, it's dropped down $75,000. The second thing to unpack, again, goes back to what I showed you guys in the previous example. These sellers are trying to get sky-high prices for their homes because everybody obviously wants to make as much money on their home when they sell it, but they have to also be realistic because even in a hot market like this, which happens to be a seller's market, if you are not priced properly, the home is not going to sell. And that's exactly what's happening in this example. The homeowner on this particular home started out much too high at $825,000. They're not even close to getting a buyer, and they still don't have one even after a $75,000 price reduction. This just goes to show you, again, if you're a buyer and you can afford a home like this, patience is the prudent play, in my opinion, because instead of jumping on the original list price, you let this home sit for a little while, and look what's happened. In just 3 weeks, there's already been a $75,000 price reduction. Let's take a look at the next example. All right, so let's look at this third and final example of a home for sale here in the Las Vegas area. You can see on the left side of the screen, this home was currently listed at $600,000. But again, just above it in that small red text, it says price cut $25,000 on 3/25. So right at the end of March, only a few weeks ago, they did a $25,000 price reduction. This is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, nearly 3,800 square foot home. But again, I want to show you the full price chart history down below from where this home started at the original list price compared to where it is right now. Let's take a look at that. All right, so let's look at the full price history of this particular home starting down at the bottom left here in that blue highlight. The date in the bottom left there says 9/21/2023. So that was about 7 months ago when the homeowner listed this home for sale, which you can see over here on the right side of the blue highlight, for $700,000. That was the original list price, and they've not been able to find a buyer. So they've reduced the home several times over the last several months. They dropped it, as you can see, as I scroll up here a little bit, $680, $650, $625, and now right there at the top, it's at $599,900. So let's just rewind the clock here a little bit. This particular homeowner was trying to sell the home for $700,000 about 7 months ago, and there were no buyers at that price point. They've now reduced the home down to $600,000. That's a $100,000 price reduction, and they still can't find a buyer after 7 months. There's a reason why I'm showing you guys these kinds of overpricing examples, which I know not only exist here in Las Vegas, but throughout the country as well. These sellers are massively overpricing homes because they know there's a lot of buyer demand out there. But if buyers would only boycott, this is exactly what would happen to all home prices. They would come down tremendously, which is why I keep telling people and why I should start a movement so that buyers would just boycott home buying because prices finally would start to reduce in a massive way. So I just want to mention something real quick, just to clarify that video segment that I showed you in the earlier part of the video, where the media report came out talking about how we recently added 300,000 jobs to the economy. Obviously, all of those jobs were not part-time or low-paying. Many of them actually were government-based. And for government-based jobs to be created, that means the government is still printing a lot of money, which is inflationary. And that just goes to show you that when we zoom out on the entire economy, regardless of what the government and the media are reporting, we all know that inflation is still completely out of control. That's why the Fed has not lowered rates like a lot of people were anticipating at the start of this year. So the bottom line is that we are living in very scary times where buying behavior is beyond irresponsible, personal debt is at an all-time record high, and affordability has all but gone out the window, especially for aspiring homeowners. What I can tell you is this: nothing stays the same forever. this economy and the housing market eventually is going to run into a downturn reversal because nothing goes up in a straight line forever like it has been for the last few years. So before we end today's video, I just want to give a shout out to my favorite comment from last week's video, and that goes to Renee. Now I'm going to put Renee's comments up here on screen, which again perfectly illustrates how inflation is still completely out of control. Let's take a look at that right now. So Renee said, today I saw a bag of Skinny Pop popcorn for $7.99, a 12-pack of soda on sale for $9.99. WTF. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. When we hear media reports talking about inflation only being 3% or 5%, they don't really talk about aggregate inflation over the last few years when items like this and a lot of other items are up 50 or 100+%, not 3% or 5%. So I want to hear from you guys. Definitely drop me a comment down below and let me know what's frustrating you regarding all of these overinflated prices, whether it's food prices, gas prices, insurance prices. Definitely let me know what's frustrating you. And my favorite comment from this week's video, I'm going to give a direct on-screen shout out to in next week's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I also hope you appreciate my transparency. You know that I'm always going to keep it 100% real on this channel regarding the economy and the real estate market. So again, guys, there's a lot of economic uncertainty out there. A lot of people's lives have been ruined over the last few years because prices are so overinflated, especially home prices. If you are thinking about buying a home and you have time on your side, I would definitely wait things out. I think home prices are going to drop when we get closer to the end of 2024 and well into 2025. I know everybody's circumstances are different. Some people can wait things out. Some people are thinking about buying a home right now. If you are thinking about buying a home, especially here in the Las Vegas area, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When that time is right for you, definitely reach out to me. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. I'll see you guys in the next video.